Hi, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Deadlights Society. I'm Adam.
And I'm Michael.
We're two losers navigating the world of horror, one podcast at a time. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new 2000, fuck,
It's all right. You got to edit.
2022 Netflix original Choose or Die. First, as a little introduction, Michael, and we've been friends since we were literally in kindergarten, so
Yep.
there's not much that we don't really know about each other at this point. But what was like your first experience with horror and like first horror movie that you watched?
I'd probably Pet Cemetery when I was very young and Cujo. I grew up with my grandmother, so those were kind of like the movies that, you know, we really like to watch. I can't say that I really grew up on a really big horror background because I didn't. It was just like those two movies that I can remember specifically. Probably wasn't until I was in, like high school-ish was when I started branching off and watching them myself, and that's when I was like, oh damn, like these are really cool. Um, some of them scared the shit out of me though, like Insidious and like those type of movies. I remember watching those in high school and being scared shitless. Even though like watching them back now, they're still scary. Like I feel like I've definitely overreacted coming from like a new perspective into horror.
I think my first time watching Insidious was actually with you.
Yeah,
Was it
you
Insidious
cried.
or what? Did I cry?
You cried. I had already watched it like two or three times before that, so I didn't cry, but you cried.
Dude, I was so bad with horror for a while.
Yeah.
But my first was Halloween. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I think it was AMC Fear Fest. One of like the first years of, not the first years that they were doing, but like soon. I know my dad knew that like horror movies on AMC every October, so that would be on TV like nonstop. But the night that Halloween came on, he like turned it on. He's like, "You're watching this with me."
Damn.
And so me, my mom, and my dad, I fucking horrified. The scariest shit that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like we had a little woven blanket, and I was just peering out of like the holes in it, just cowering in a corner of the sofa. It was awful.
I feel like that's probably how it was with me with Pet Cemetery too, but only because we literally had a pet cemetery in our backyard
Yeah.
where we buried all of our animals. So it was like, is my dog gonna like come to life like after watching this movie? Like, is that really a thing? So I think that was kind of like more like psychological on my part, but I can't say I was scared of those movies. Like it was just like they were cool to watch. Like we watched them all the time. And if you count Stand by Me, I mean it's not really a horror, but the psychological aspect of that at the end, those were like movies that I grew up on. So
See, but I can't say much about Sam. It is a Stephen King story, but
yeah,
barely,
it's not scary though.
yeah,
It's just
barely
it's
horror.
yeah.
I guess nah. Even seeing that as a kid, it could fuck with you a little bit.
For like the dead body at the end
Yeah,
and like that whole thing, like as a child, yeah, but like
100%.
it's just a good movie. But like that's kind of where I grew up, like in the horror franchises, just Pet Cemetery and Cujo and like things like that. So Stephen King kind of background, but not really because I didn't watch much more than that. Like I can't tell
That's
you
pretty.
Christine or any of those like iconic movies from him because we didn't watch those ones. But like the ones that we
Yeah.
did, I remember.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty much like the same background that I had with Stephen King. Like first horror because my mom was a Stephen King fan before I was born. So I grew up around like the Stephen King books just being like in existence and like, ooh, what's this? And just kind of like looking at the covers like it piqued my interest. But of course I was scared shitless as a kid of like everything. But then once I think like high school hit around there and I started to like mellow out, people uh like that's when horror started taking on and being like, I kind of really like.
yeah.
No, I remember exactly what it was. It was those Cirque du Freak books. I read those in middle school, and then that was when my love of horror really started to kick off.
Yeah.
It started with like vampires and shit.
And I guess you could the Goosebumps. I was gonna say that too because I collected the Goosebumps books when I was really little too. I didn't read all of them, but I read quite a few. And I used to just love like just the story behind them and like even though they're really not that scary because they're aimed for children and like the younger audience. But I feel like that was probably my first introduction then, besides like Cujo and Pet Cemetery would be going to the Goodwills with my grandmother and looking for these Goosebump books all the time. Like I'd try and find the new ones, and I have still to this day I'm missing like 7 books, but I'm still on the search. But that's probably my first, yeah, the books, and
You
I did
never,
read those Circle the Freak books too.
yeah, you never read like any of the Fear Street or Nightmare
No,
Hall or
I
anything,
have
right?
some of them, but I never read them
Gotcha.
because it was just like I was like a horror for Goosebumps. You can describe it. Like I was like a crackhead for those books, but no, I wasn't really big into like, I guess the artist in general, like R.L. Stine and his entire work. Like I wasn't really interested in all of it. Like I'm more interested in today. Like I do want
Yeah.
to eventually get all the Fear Street books as well, but it was just like Goosebumps. Like it was something about like the happiness at those books and just collecting them. But just that, yeah,
Well,
that'd
like
be
as
my,
you grow older too, like you start noticing like where the influence of like those horror stories and stuff comes from, and
yeah,
like as you start looking at horror like as a genre, like when you can read those stories as an adult and look at it as like a bigger picture, I think it brings a sense of like more wonderment to it almost. I don't know if it even makes sense the way I'm explaining. But like when you it goes for everything. When you know the influences of something, like you can
yeah,
love it so much deeper.
yeah,
And I think it's the same thing.
hmm,
Like not only nostalgia, obviously, but you have those connections to the influence now.
yeah, yeah, true. Um,
All right. The way podcast is going to work is we're going to have our introduction. Obviously, we're going to talk about movies, what we're watching that day. We're going to take a break, and while live recording the podcast, we're going to be watching the movie and coming back at the end with our review. Now, every single review is going to have spoilers. This is just a warning up front.
yeah,
Every single episode is full of spoilers. We're not taking spoilers out. Everything's going to be in there. If you don't want spoilers, don't listen to the podcast. Sorry, that's the
or
way it
go
is.
watch the movie and then come back to
Or
the
yeah, or
podcast.
watch the movie and come back. That works too. But we were talking about our fear of flop rating. Do you want to take that away?
Yeah, so we were going back and forth between what to name the podcast, and we eventually did the Google Forms, and we came to realize that the audience wanted the Deadlights Society, so that's what we chose. That's our name of the podcast. But instead, we've now incorporated one of the other names that we could have chosen, Fear of Flop, into a segment into our podcast. Basically, it's just going to be a watch or don't rating. So,
Yeah.
I mean, probably just do like a 1 to 10, like, 10 obviously being the best and 1 being, absolute garbage.
I would
But
honestly like the way I might do it is do like a 10 fear and
yeah,
like a 1 through 10 fear and then like a 1 through 10 flop and like
or that. I mean,
a
whatever.
10 flop is like
Yeah,
please don't
please
ever
don't
watch this
watch
movie.
it. Throw it in the trash. Set it
Yeah.
on fire. I feel like you probably won't get many of those from me because I'm very lenient when it comes to movies. I love just about any movie that is brought my way. I only have a few that I can think of that I don't like, which we'll get into those when we get to those movies. But
I'm definitely gonna pick apart a lot of
yeah.
movies
So
more.
he's gonna be bad cop and I'm good cop, just so y'all know. So, but that's how that's gonna work. We'll give you a fear of flop rating at the end. So part 2 of the podcast when we start talking about the movie once we watch it, we'll give you that. Um,
Yeah, but until then, follow us on our Discord community page, Facebook page, wherever you wanna get a
yeah.
hold.
And
Email us at deadlightsociety@gmail.com. Alright, let's start getting into our choose or die pre-information. Do you want to read the movie description?
yes, sir. All right. So, like I said, we're doing Choose or Die, which just came out April 15th.
Yeah, literally yesterday. This just came out.
Yesterday for us, a few days ago for you guys when this podcast released. But the description of it is a broke student who plays an obscure 1980s survival computer game in pursuit of an unclaimed $100,000 prize. After a series of unexpectedly terrifying moments, she soon realizes she's no longer playing for the money, but for her own life. So it's just kind of a little background of what you're going to watch if you choose to watch it. I think that it's a pretty good, idea. Like I feel like that's going to be interesting.
I definitely like the idea of it, especially going into like the retro boom that we kind of are now. Like Stranger Things kicked it off in 2016,
Yeah.
and we've like had this 80s revival lately.
Yeah.
So I think like going into the old school horror and like NES, Commodore 64 kind of era, like it was meant to happen at some point for
Yeah,
horror.
absolutely.
I mean, we've already kind of had it in the past, but
I think it gives me Jumanji vibes a little bit.
Yeah, that's like what I was
The new
seeing in like
Jumanji.
some of like people's information that pre-screen and whatever else. They were all like, "Yeah, this is just horror Jumanji."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, I'm down for it though because I like the
definitely.
Jumanji. I mean, I like the original one more, but I did appreciate what they did with the new ones. But curious to see how this one will play out when you give it a more spooky aspect to it and some. If anybody's seen the trailer, there's definitely some kills in there that look a little interesting. And
Yeah, we were talking earlier about it, and it's definitely like Saw vibes and shit with it.
They definitely look a little creepy. So if you're not into, gore, it
I'm
might not be
not.
best for you, but it's.
I love slasher movies with a passion, but the one thing that I always am like kind of hesitant with is like when it starts getting like the torture pornish kind of.
Yeah.
Like Saw, I'm like,
Yeah.
Like the first one is a masterpiece, and I love it. It's a perfect movie. But like after that, it kind of gets
Yeah, some of them.
it's a little
Yeah,
too gross.
yeah. It's very gory. So, I mean, I can't tell you what this one's gonna be like, but just from the few things that they've shown on the trailer, it looks like it's gonna be pretty gory. So, I mean, we'll let you know part two after we watch it. But if you haven't checked out the trailer, definitely go watch it. Go see if you have a Netflix account and you don't have anything to do for an hour and 24 minutes. Definitely check it out. I mean, that's my pre-fear flop rating. I think it's gonna be a one to check out.
I have faith.
Yeah, I have faith, and Robert Englund's in it. And
oh yeah, fucking Robert Englund, of course.
Yeah, so if you're
the master of fucking horror, Robert Englund is in this movie,
yes,
which automatically gives it
a fear rating and not
of
a flop. So go check it out. We're gonna give you the pre-fear rating. But the director is Toby Meekins, which this is going to be his directorial debut. He has a few little shorts under his name. I think one that I researched up on, it's called Ghost, I think, and it's about a dude who falls in love with this ghost, but he can only see the ghost when he holds his breath. So interesting. Haven't seen the short myself, so I don't really know like what happens in it. Like, does he hold his breath until he dies? I don't know. Could be, but I think it's an interesting story. I mean, it might be an interesting like actual like big movie. I don't know, but it's just a little short, probably like 5 minutes.
I have seen that in the past. I forget which movie specifically it was, but there's like one little short that they did as like, this is our scare that we like our big scare that we want to do. But so many movies started copying the scare then.
Yeah.
Because he released the short on YouTube first before he made his feature.
Yeah.
And I forget which one it was now. I think it was the one where it was like the lights turning off and then the person standing there and then you turn the lights back on and they vanish.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever seen that scare before in movies.
No, but there's a lot of movies that incorporate that.
Yeah.
Now, so. Yeah.
It was a short that this one director did a while ago before he did a feature-length film on it, and it like took off in the horror community for a while. Like a lot of directors were poaching that scare.
Damn. So I think now we're just gonna dive right into it. I feel like that's all that we have pre-talk to give you guys at the moment. Like I said, we already kind of gave you a fear rating right off the bat just because of Robert Englund's involvement and just that it seemed like a cool story. But we're going to cut now. We're going to go watch the movie. We'll be back. I mean, it'll be like seconds for you, but it's going to be an hour and a half for us. But we'll be back to give you an accurate review and a real fear rating, and we'll talk about some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it first, and then come back to the podcast if you want. Or if you don't care for spoilers and just want to listen anyway, go right for it. But at this point forward, there will be spoilers ahead. So just giving you that warning. Yeah.
All right. See you after the break.
Congratulations. You are worthy. And remember, reality is cursed.
You're not special. You are fired.
Saw the eviction notice.
This used to be a good neighborhood.
What's this?
Cursor.
with a 125 grand prize.
There are a ton of unclaimed prizes from retro games.
Could be easy money. You know Wilkie's on 37th?
Yes, I do.
Meet me there tonight at 1:30.
It's a date.
It's a deal. It's not like anything I've ever seen before.
It seemed to affect reality.
You have to choose, Kayla. Choose or die.
Clean up.
How was he doing? It's almost putting the words on the screen before I say it. 10. I don't see how a video game can kill someone.
The more the cursed suffer, the more the cursor benefits.
If it sent you here, it can't be for anything good.
It's gonna hurt.
We gotta choose, Caleb.
I think you might be what it was looking for. Choose or die.
That was a movie.
Yeah. Welcome back. It's part 2, post-movie watch. Yeah, that's definitely a movie, like you said. I was expecting something good, and so I'm glad that, I was disappointed, I'll say that. I know Adam has a little bit of a problem with the ending, but we'll tackle that. We'll start with,
Hold on. This is the last spoiler warning before we go forward. You don't want to hear anything.
click away, and then
Click
come
away.
back later
Yeah.
once you watch it. Definitely, initial fear of flop rating is a definite fear. Go watch it. I wouldn't give this a flop at all.
No, definitely not a flop.
My fear rating off of that is a 9. I think it's going to be hard for any movie to get a 10, but I'll give it a 9. 8.59. Definitely check it out. I don't know. What'd you give it?
I don't know what I'd put it at. It's definitely higher than a 5.
Yeah.
Like, definitely higher 5 or 6. I'd probably stick around like 7 or 8.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
says 7 and 8. I say 9. He's more picky than I am, though, so
Yeah.
probably going to give a lot of movies more higher ratings than he will. But I think it
You're
was
not wrong at all.
yeah, I think it was really well done. I think it was really well put together. The story flowed very well. It started off interesting, like it wasn't like a slow build, like a lot of scary movies that are
Oh yeah,
slow
it
build,
goes.
like
There's no like initial setup or anything. It's just like it's right into the story. It's fucking awesome and like a breath of fresh air from like the slow horror movies that we've been getting lately.
Yep.
Like the next episode of the podcast is going to be Midsummer, and we already know Michael's seen it already. It's such a slow build up to the end, and
Yep.
that's what we keep getting out of horror.
That
And
movie's-
I love these like we're right into this. Like you get the character development while you're going through the story.
Yep.
Like you know who each of these characters are. Like as the story is progressing, there's no like blatant "oh this is me" montage of everybody.
Yeah, like it's only an hour and 24 minutes. Midsummer is like a 3-hour long movie. So just in comparison to that, like you get right into the character development. You don't need, like you said, some like crazy backstory. You know right away that this girl is suffering and like her family's suffering and all this. Like, and you can feel empathy for her character right away without having to take like an hour to understand her and like her background. Like it dives right into it, which is nice.
Probably talk about it like a little bit of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, we can dive into the beginning. I mean, obviously the beginning starts off with the first family, like not Kayla, which is the main person of the story. Her name's Kayla. She's the one who discovers the game then and starts playing, and it kind of just takes from her perspective for the majority of the movie. But the very beginning opening scene is this completely different family, and it's like some dad.
It's just like a stereotypical like white nuclear family,
Yeah.
like a mom and dad and a kid.
Yep. And he's, in his room, he's like,
He's an 80s collector.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he has big VHS everywhere. He has video games everywhere. He's listening to Gary Newman on vinyl. Like,
yeah. So, that kind of vibes, and his son is just seems a little disrespectful, like yelling at his mom about like how his dad's like worthless and just so addicted to the 80s that he's like no good. So that's kind of how the theme starts off, and then he goes into his room, closes off his door because he's probably, I'm sure, irritated with what his son's saying, and he starts to play this game, and it's starting to augment his reality in like real time, and it's kind of crazy.
And immediately, like first 15 minutes of the movie, we have our first like
first insane,
not kill.
Yeah,
because
it didn't die. But
spoiler for the end, like the kid comes back. But
yeah, but it was an intense scene, and he makes the choice is her ears, his tongue, or something like that, and it's like, what? I mean, obviously us as the viewers know what that means, but he's kind of looking at it like, what? Like, you just filled up my beer can with more beer.
Oh yeah, like that's
like such a innocent choice first, and then it goes to his tongue or her ears, and then he's just kind of like, what? And then he's not making the choice, so then he starts to go like that sound because he's gonna choose or die. He's gonna die if he doesn't make a choice, and then it cuts to his wife cutting his son's tongue out of his mouth, and it's like, holy shit! Like right away, like within the first 10 minutes.
There isn't. I noticed, like, I thought there was gonna be a lot more like torture pornish like aspects to it, but there was a lot. Like, there's 2 off-screen deaths, I think.
The first one, I mean, you don't count that one as a death, obviously, the tongue thing, though. Yeah. And then it went into the suicide at the restaurant with the girl who...
Yeah.
That whole thing. And then her mom, and then Isaac, and then the dude at the end. Well, then the fight scene first, the boss fight scene or whatever, and then the dude at the end. So, I mean, I think out of all those, I think only one person died. Well, 2. The dude, the drug dealer dude. Because it was the lady at the restaurant died, and then the dude at the end.
Like and they never like showed anybody actually dying.
Yeah. I mean,
they showed the body of the dude at the end, but they never showed like him actually dying.
Yeah, that's true. And same thing with the waitress. You didn't see her die. You just seen her eat the fucking glass, and then it just cuts to the.
A lot of stuff was like it was shown in the trailer.
Yeah.
So many, like literally, like all the deaths were shown in the trailer, which kind of
pretty much like
sucks.
the two main ones that were like the most cringy ones. They did show you in the trailer. There's like really nothing more cringy than that. I don't think.
Then it's like they don't show it happening. It's just it cuts away the second it's about to happen.
Kind of exactly what it shows in the trailer.
Yeah, pretty much.
It just shows that. Yeah. So that I guess that's a disappointing aspect. And it would have been nice to kind of see it through, even though it would have been way more gory.
Oh yeah, it would have been like a hard R.
For sure.
This was only rated like TVMA, which I guess. I feel like Walking Dead is TVMA.
Yeah, I
so it kind of like holds
worse,
back.
Though.
It is, but it's not. It's kind of like it feels like it holds back way too much.
I feel like for a TVMA rating, they definitely should have shown
especially
more.
For being on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if Netflix bought it after it was like a short film, or not short film, but like a film festival movie. I don't know if Netflix bought it in that time.
No, I'm not sure, but I guess for a TVMA rating, definitely I expected a little bit more gore than that.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, for what it showed and what it was, like it still was insane and definitely like gore warning. And it's there were certain scenes where it's like you're cringing your face because you're like, oh, gross, like that's nasty. So like it's not downplaying what happens in it, but just you would expect more from a TVMA rating, I guess. Yeah. So
like it's not. You fully go into this movie expecting like full Saw, like torture porn, splatter film, but it's not. It's just like it's torture porn. Like I'd call it almost a teen movie, like kind of how Fear Street's like toes that line of like, well, it's more bloody for like kids, but it's still like young enough to be like teenage-ish movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Kind of say though, I fucking love Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Like with the computer part, and then him having like the little phone.
Yeah, the little voicemail thing.
And the fact that he's like Hollywood royalty.
Yeah.
Horror. I can't say it.
I know. I can't.
Horror royalty. Yeah, between those two things, Robert Englund's the fucking best.
Yeah, that was a nice touch to have him in it. Even if it was just his voice, like he's not in it, like physically, you don't see him at any point.
Wasn't there like a picture of him or something on the trailer as well?
There was like in the very beginning scene, they had the poster, the Nightmare on Elm Street poster next to the dude's computer.
But remember, there was like a still from it, and it had him with like his eyes sewn or whatever.
Maybe could have just been like the skull background in the commercial video game itself. Like they could have.
I could have sworn you sent me like a picture or something of a bunch of stills from the trailer, and one of them was like Robert Englund with like his eyes sewn shut or something.
No, it's for a different movie.
Oh, was it?
That's for a different.
Okay.
I forget what movie that was, but I was like, that looks like Robert Englund. And you're like, it is. I was like, oh, that's why.
That's right.
It was
I
for
thought
something else.
this.
So, yeah, no, it wasn't for this. But
Gotcha.
no, I get what you're saying now. But no, still his presence in there and his voice is still, iconic, and just to have, to be this is his the director, Toby Meekins, his directorial debut, like I said, so to even have Robert Englund be a part of it in even such a short way is like incredible.
First movie.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'd definitely be interested to see more work from him in the future. So, and it's the movie, definitely the ending sets it up for a second and a sequel. There's no doubt about it. There's definitely going to be a Choose or Die too.
Should we go into it?
I mean, we can. Like I said, you've had plenty of spoiler warnings at this point. So if you're still listening, you've already watched it or you don't care. So, but the ending, she has this final boss battle that she has to do with the dude from the very beginning, the family that we were talking about. She ends up having to go to his house, and his family's there. The wife and son are obviously like deeply controlled by this dude. Like they're terrified, and when the game starts up again, like they even like run off screen. Like the son's like so scared of this like theme song that comes on.
Oh well, yeah. The second that Kayla walks into the room, like he's panicking and like mumbling and shit. Like he doesn't know he's gonna get hurt again. That's
But she has to fight this dude. Basically, it's like a him or her type thing. Like he's gonna die or she's gonna die, and whoever wins that battle wins the game. Because they're both technically playing, even though you only really see her story throughout the whole movie. Both of them are still playing. So the end, it's a him or her situation. So the ending plays through the boss battle, and what's interesting about that is the fact that him or her, you think that they're hurting each other. So like her stabbing herself is hurting him, and him punching himself is hurting her. So it's opposite, which I thought was a really cool twist. Didn't expect it, so that was pretty cool.
Then the whole time the son is like fighting for his dad, and then the mom like turns on her husband and fights for the girl.
So the son's trying to hurt the dad, but it's not hurting him, it's hurting her. And then the wife is trying to hurt Kayla, because whatever is done to Kayla hurts
the guy.
I don't know his name. I don't know if they ever.
Anyway, as we were saying before, we were rudely interrupted
by my mother. The ending playing out, and the son is trying to hurt the father, but indirectly that's trying to hurt Kayla, and the mother is trying to hurt Kayla, which indirectly hurt the father. So it's kind of like it's interesting to see
it's
that
like a 4-way battle royale.
Yeah,
like it's a wrestling match essentially.
Pretty much.
Everybody's finding whatever weapons closest to them to kill themselves, pretty much.
And it's something that definitely I think irritated me a little bit at that kill scene was that after he slits his throat and she's in the pool drowning, trying to drown herself so that it drowns him, and he slit his throat, he starts choking because she's not dead yet. She's just in the pool, like bleeding out, but trying to drown herself so that it drowns him. And he's just kind of standing there, like realizing that he's choking and he can't breathe. I mean, logically, wouldn't you think to jump in the fucking pool and go get this girl out of the pool and let her just bleed out?
The ending felt rushed.
Yeah,
it really did.
I mean, for being an hour and 24 minutes, I prefer movies that are about that length and not much longer. But it did feel like, there could have been more to that, or I don't
stretched out like 10 more minutes, and you could have filled it in a lot more time.
Yeah.
Like if there's deleted scenes or something in it that then weren't able to make it, I'm sure
there probably is. So I'm sure it'd be interesting to see that.
It is Toby Meekins' first movie.
Yeah. I'm definitely not knocking him. It's definitely a well-made movie and really well directed. Just feel like just some little plot holes. And I know Adam's like torn up over the police thing.
Oh my god, the fucking cops, dude. The first 20 minutes of the movie, the fucking cops are at Kayla and her mom's house trying to wonder well,
Like,
what
the fuck
happened
is
with the
going on?
suicide
Yeah.
with the girl? She was there. She made a statement, and then they're like, "Oh, we need to talk to her again." The whole fucking movie goes by, and they never talk again. The cops just vanish. Everyone's dying around this girl. Everyone's getting hurt around this girl, and the cops are nowhere to be fucking found.
That's like the first thing that he said he said it a few times during the movie, but as soon as the movie was over, he was just like, when did the cops question her? And I'm like, dude, really?
I was
Like,
so
who gives a
upset
shit?
about the cops.
I'm irritated with that final death scene that he didn't try and go get her out of that fucking pool and he just instead stood there
But
and
what
just
also
drowned to
pissed
death.
me off too is they don't show the mom or the son trying to get Kayla out of the pool. They just cut from her like bleeding
Yeah.
out and drowning in the pool
Yeah.
and see her like finger twitch, and then it cuts to black, like a weird Friday the 13th like jump scare. Like
Yeah.
unless that's what he was trying to do. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh,
And then she's just
old
magically
slappies.
out of the pool talking to
Yeah.
the mom and son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can kind of nitpick that too, but I feel like the police thing, let that go.
I could not. Dude, it was so annoying because they make it a point in the movie to say she needs to come back again for questioning
Yeah.
about her statement.
Yeah.
And it's never addressed. You're fully expecting like a full like
they just
police
let that go.
station scene where she has to like explain what she saw again. I just no. Like,
Yeah.
okay, continue on.
Okay, continue.
Unless, like you said, the mom does go into like the trauma of her losing
Yeah.
their little brother. Like the little brother drowns in the pool.
Yeah.
That's a whole big plot device throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her brother dies in a pool, and the mom says, "Well, we have trauma in our family from that." And I'm wondering if that's like the movie's excuse to try to write off like the police questioning again. But that's if you see somebody like kill themselves like that, even if you
Yeah,
have trauma,
they
the
could
cops are
follow
gonna
more.
want.
I mean,
No, I
unless-
still want your eyewitness account of like what happened to this person. Like,
I mean,
they
it could have played
ate
out.
glass.
It could have played out in the universe if they did question her and it just didn't make it to the movie because it probably would have just been boring questioning, like, oh, like what happened, and then she just tells the story and they just kind of like assume she's crazy or like or
Then
just
why
assume.
make it a point to address it in the movie?
I get it, but I don't know. I'm just not hung up on it like you are, but I get it. I get why you're frustrated,
Yeah.
but what I think, I guess, what was your favorite kill from it? Favorite scene? Which one do you think was the most interesting?
The guy at the end.
The guy
was
at the end
yeah,
with the
he was
needles?
my favorite. Yeah,
That's
It
true.
was so deserved.
I enjoyed the restaurant one when she ate glass, even though I didn't really enjoy it because it was
I
disgusting.
actually did like Isaac's.
but-
Isaac's with the tape.
Oh yeah,
it was
the tape.
it was cool.
That I didn't like that though because I didn't want him to die.
That's true.
I'm still upset.
This
I
was
was-
an undeserved.
I
death.
was really hoping that it was going to be like Jumanji, where she beats the game and then it just kind of like rewinds to when she first started to play it.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for that, but
What was?
not how it
I
played out.
realized why there was like flashbacks at the end, but like it was unneeded. Like the whole thanks for making me look like a superhero thing. Like
Yeah.
that, it felt completely unneeded.
Maybe. I mean,
Like the ending of this movie just was not good. Like,
the
the last
ending
10
plays out
minutes.
like it's going to be some Death Note type thing, like
Yeah,
where she's going to be able
yeah.
to choose who dies next. Like the guy who created the game kind of asks her like, well, where does this go now? And she's like, to whoever deserves it.
That's exactly what it fucking is. It's like Death Note with Saw.
Mixed with Jumanji.
Yeah, mixed with Jumanji. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. I mean, interesting still, nonetheless. Like I said, I'd definitely watch it again. I might even go watch it later on tonight, maybe.
I'm wondering if it could have been done better, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, for a directorial debut, I think he did a really good job. I feel like
Yeah.
it's really well put together. There's obviously some little things that could have been, different or enhanced, but for what it is, I think it was pretty dope. And
It's definitely, yeah, for 100%, it's really good, like, entry for
Yeah.
Toby Meekins into the genre.
Yeah, and I think I would probably agree with you with my favorite death would probably be that guy too. I liked the glass one just because I think that was insane, but I feel like the most deserving one would have been the drug dealer dude, and I'm really glad that happened. So
It does feel nice that, like, the first kill and the last kill are, like, the best kills in the movie, because,
yeah,
like, you do get lackluster one. I guess Isaac's is pretty lackluster. It feels more like cartoonish than anything.
Because of the film thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I really didn't want Isaac to die, so that one kind of upset me. But hoping for, maybe part 2, maybe he'll come back to life. I don't fucking know. But
No.
I think the scenes where it's her and Isaac before he dies, like the scene before he dies, and they're going through like the red door, blue door thing, and they go into the red door, and she's chasing after her brother. That gave me very big It vibes when Bill
It's literally
was chasing
it's
after
like the
Georgie.
Shining hedge maze.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly that scene.
Yeah. So mixed with that, mixed with then It. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously very.
Also, Jennifer's body a little bit.
Oh yeah, with the pool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When she's like eating the dude's fucking neck. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So you got a mix of all these like iconic horror movies in it, and you can clearly see, his influence and like
you can
what
see
he was
100%
going for.
where the inspiration's coming. I mean, in the first freaking 5 minutes of the movie, you get a Nightmare on Elm Street poster.
Yeah.
It's like Robert Englund's in it.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street is front and center.
Yep.
It cuts back to like the poster multiple times throughout the movie. So you know that he's a horror fan.
Yep.
Like you know where some of his ideas are coming from.
Yeah. Very true.
I think I'm like firm in my. Now that I'm thinking about the ending, though, I think I have to knock it down to a 7, like a Fear 7.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do like an 8.5. I'll stick with an 8.5. I won't give it a solid 9, but I'll do an 8.5. I think it was pretty well put together, and I'm not gonna critique it too hard just because it's the dude's first like legit movie. So I feel like for his first debut, like I think that's pretty well done, and I think I'll definitely watch it again. I'm the type of person who will watch a movie 30 fucking times. I've seen the It movies 30 fucking times each. I don't know. I watch movies over and over and over again, and so I think this will definitely be one that I add to that as well. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, I'll definitely like revisit it if I'm ever like Robert Englund marathon or something.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't yet. If you have a Netflix account, definitely go watch it. If you want to borrow your friend's Netflix account, go watch it. Definitely a fear, not a flop.
100%. All right. I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, I think that's final wrap up. Any other questions or things that anybody wants to know, you can follow our Facebook page at the Deadlights Society podcast. I think that's the only page we have running at the moment, just because this is our first episode. We're just starting up, so we'll get more pages and possibly a Discord up eventually. I'm just gonna try to start low and slow for now, since we're just starting up and we don't really have a following yet. So just chilling and killing.
Also, feel free to email us at deadlightsociety@gmail.com for any suggestions for the pod.
Yep, you can email us at that, or you can do the Facebook page, whichever works, doesn't matter. Like we said previously, our next movie is Midsummer, which is a movie that I've seen before and Adam has not. I've only watched it once, though, and it was a really long time ago, when it first...
a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of it.
It was a while ago for me, so I don't remember the whole thing, but that's on deck, so that will release next week. But yeah, until then, like I said, just follow our pages, and any questions, any recommendations, hit us up for those. And just a thank you to any audience that has tuned in and has stuck without this whole podcast.
All right. Till next week.
Till next week.